Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on the 29th of February. It's a Thursday. It's about 11:30 almost, so I'm late today. We had some visitors from another country and they wanted to talk, and I wanted to talk to them, so we were talking for a while, and I guess that made me late. Sorry about that. Um, Let me jump into the live stream quickly. Make sure we got a live stream. Now it seems that we got it going. Almost there, guys. All right. Okay. I'm going to do a praise because we're a Bible believing site. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so today I want to get people a little bit more clear so they could help others as to what the reality is with the wars and things like this. First thing is, there's promises in the Bible where the Lord tells Israel, I will give you the land that your fathers had. And that's for our generation, obviously, right? Because it was with them, they already had the land. It would make no sense. Okay. So, what I want to just kind of tell you, and then we'll fit it into the wars, okay, is what the land that the fathers had, okay, um, pretty closely what we have now with the following additions. Okay, the Gaza area, of course, the West Bank, which we really have, Lebanon, Western Jordan, and southwestern Syria. So David ruled out of Damascus. So that's pretty much what we're going to get in this time. The rest of the land from the Euphrates to the Nile, I believe, is going to happen probably after Gog and Magog, or, as best I could tell. Okay. So we don't have all of that yet, and we're not going to get it. So we are fighting the Palestinians in Gaza. We are fighting with Lebanon. We're not yet fighting with Western Jordan, but we could be very quickly. And Syria, we're loosely fighting with by bombing various installations there. So you could see it coming together, I hope. Jordan, the issue there is the people of Jordan that are terrorists, pro-terrorist, or that orientation, are giving the king of Jordan trouble by trying to push in to the West Bank from Jordan. So that is something that we're going to see. And then to give you a couple of little confirmations, when you read about Ezekiel 38:39, it says, I think, Dedan, which is Saudi Arabia area, we would really be calling it Arabia. It says, did you come to take a spoil? So we didn't have that land yet. Okay. So I believe sometime after Gog and Magog, we get that. Probably with the new heaven and the new earth. That's my take on it. Then this, you could explains because we're in year recompenses until around August 1st, and we don't see the African countries rising up against us. Yes, we see the Houthis rising up, but the amount of damage that the Houthis are really able to do to Israel is next to nothing. So they just took to lashing out at the nations to put pressure on Israel to stop fighting Gaza. So today there's a lot of false theories about this is going to lead to Gog and Magog, and it's not. It's going to be a big lapse of time in between. Okay, big lapse. So what we'll do is I want to take you into Daniel 9:24 to the end of the chapter and bring out a couple of things to you. And I want to point out before I start that I don't know everything about this yet. It's a sealed book. Nobody's been able to convince me that it's been unsealed. When Yeshua mentioned the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel, some people say that unsealed the book. I don't think so. So I'll tell you what I know, and I'll tell you what I'm not so sure about. Okay? Daniel 9:24 doesn't say 70 weeks. It says 70, Shavim, Shavim. The word 70 and the word weeks in the Hebrew text of every single manuscript there is identical. It means 70. Okay? Are determined upon thy people. And thy people is Israel. Okay? And upon thy holy city, that's Jerusalem, to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins. So that means Israel isn't sinning anymore. And that doesn't happen until after Gog and Magog, because Gog and Magog is the great falling away. Okay? And they can't have a falling away until they get back on the right track first. Now, when it says Shavim, Shavim, it's the same word. It means 70. So we'll need to analyze 70 what with the second 70. We know the first 70 was 70 years of captivity in Babylon. What the second one means, we'll try to get there. Pray we get it right. To make an end to sins, reconciliation for lawlessness, bring in everlasting righteousness. That's everlasting life. For how would you have everlasting righteousness? Seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Anoint the most holy is the holiest. The holies with the next temple. It's not Yeshua. Yeshua was anointed, and we're not doing that. God anointed him. You could say when John the Baptist baptized him and he rose up and the dove and all that. Then you could say that, or you could just say God anointed. But anyway, we're not anointing him. Now, this is the next verse is, so there's a second 70 of something on Israel. Now, the where this second 70 starts, or give you an idea of how it develops, is in the next verse. And I'll read it in the English and then we'll look at the Hebrew, which is somewhat different. So the English is wrong. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the anointed, the prince, shall be 7, and they say weeks, but we'll look at that, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Well, then they're going to say, well, when Yeshua died, that's with the anointed. But come on, let's look at this with intelligence. When Yeshua died, did they rebuild the city or the streets? Nothing. Most of the people were glad to get rid of them, including the Jews. Were all the tribes mourning as in, mourning of death, sad over the death of somebody like they do in Zechariah 12? Absolutely not. Okay, so we'll need to look at the Hebrew on this, and you'll see how very perplexing it is. And I'm not sure I can open the whole thing up at this point, but I'll explain to the problem to you. The first word is Yodah, or Yodei. I think I would pronounce it Yodei, and Yodei, which means no, and no. It'd be smart. Basically, it's be and be smart from let me see how Strong's puts this word in English. It's going forth to bear the word, or the commandment, you might say the word, la hashub, and that means to return. Okay, la would mean to, the shub, the hay would be it would mean the, so it's to the shub, and that word shub, or shuv, I should say, is to turn back or return. Okay, it's not. It means return to the starting point. Okay, so from the return, that's your second Exodus. Okay, uh, and to the not, which is the building, the rebuilding, and to the rebuilding of Jerusalem, uh, um, unto Mashiach, which means anointed. It doesn't mean Yeshua all the time. Nagi, that means prince. So it says to the anointed prince. And this is where it gets very, very difficult. Now, maybe the old rabbis know what this means, but they're not going to tell you the truth. It says Shavim again, which is the exact same word used twice in Daniel 9:24. It says 70. And then the next word is Shavua, which is 7. So it's saying 70. Now that could be referencing the 70, so he's saying, like, remember the 70, and then he's saying the 7, and now it gets even more confusing. Yeshavim referencing 70 again. So is he saying 770s? Or is he saying 7 out of the 70s? See what I mean? It's very difficult. If he was saying 770s, you wouldn't be able to have the it wouldn't be just 7. It would contradict itself. Then it says Sheshim, which is 60, and Shnaim. So he's saying and 70, and then he's saying, I think from this 60, from this 70, I think he's saying 60 and 2. Then it's saying to return again. To return and rebuild. Rakov means street. To rebuild street. And then it says and this is odd. Let's see. Roots. Some kind of dig word or something like that. Rebuild the street. And the bug or something. And then it says, and distress or trouble. The Hatsam, the time. See, so it's very, very difficult to figure out. I haven't gotten there yet. What all these 70s mean. It's very, very hard. And the English is just is an abomination what they do to it. They're just completely messed up. Okay. The anointed prince appears to be one from the line of David that is in the next temple. Now, I'll show you this because many don't understand it. We just go to Ezekiel 45 and, or I don't know, maybe around verse 14. Let's see. I'll have to scan for it. We can pick it up from Ezekiel 45:17, and it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings and meat offerings and drink offerings in the feasts and in the new moons and in the Sabbaths, in all solemnities of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering and the meat offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings to make reconciliation for the house of Israel. And he's mentioned in other places in the Bible, in Ezekiel chapters 40 to 48 as well. So the anointed prince has the connotation of, you know, who was anointed in the Old Testament, the king and the prophet and the high priest. Well, this anointed prince is a combination of the king, because he's a prince, royalty, it says. You can interpret the Nagid word as royalty. And he's anointed and he's doing the offerings. So he's like a combination king and priest, and he's from the line of David, and that's what Yeshua is, which is also from the line of David, but much greater. Okay? Yeshua is the king of Israel, and he's also the Messiah. He's many things, but you know, he's also a priest in the order of Melchizedek. And he did the offering once and never has to reproduce it again. So there's not a temple in New Jerusalem, and that's stated in Revelation 21. There's no temple there because they're not going to be doing any more offerings when Yeshua's there. Okay? So the anointed prince is going to precede Yeshua. Okay, and this temple is there before Gog and Magog, so it's pretty much going to be here very shortly. I'm of the belief that God places the temple here. It comes down from heaven. It is not New Jerusalem. There is no such thing as a millennial temple. There's no temple in New Jerusalem, so it's a joke when they say that. They're mocking you, and Satan's teaching them and they don't know any better. Okay. We got a prayer request for R Robert Sam. R.S. Robert Sam. Prayer request for healing and good health. For R.S. Robert Sam. Healing and good health. And do I have another prayer request? Let's see. Yes. MF. Mike Foxtrot. MF. Needs protection from RC. So MF needs protection from RC. An unusual prayer, but MF needs protection from RC. I've got to call this guy real quick. Hold on a minute. I need dog food for the weekend, and I made a note to myself to call, and if I don't call now, I'm not going to get a delivery today, and I may not get it tomorrow. Hello? Hi. Can you have him send me 20 cans of the natural today, please? Yeah, of the natural dog food today. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. Okay. That wasn't so bad. All right. So, back to Daniel, it appears that we get a sense of timing for this when you have the second Exodus and they're rebuilding Jerusalem and stuff like that. So the second 70 hasn't started yet. Okay? Is it 70 years, which is very likely what it means? And then you got to try to figure out the Shavuot, the sevens, which could be a Shemitah years. You know, so it gets thick. So it goes. See, if it says that the command to build Jerusalem unto the anointed prince shall be 7 Shavua, that's 49 years out of the 70, so we're okay there. And then it says 62 weeks. So the weeks word, I gotta look at it. They translate it wrong. The street shall be built again, and where do you? Okay, so that could also be in 62, a year 62. But if it's saying 62, 62, that's 62 Shavua. Let's check for that. Then we got a problem. And it needs resolution, and I don't have the resolution. Let's go back to 924. See, and then it says, and Shavim, and then it goes, and 70. Then it says, Shashim 60 and 2. Then it says, return or turn back. See, it could still work because this is not sevens now. So it could still fit in the 70 years. To build the street. So it could still work, you know. It could still work. So it might just be 70 years. Now, as I was telling you, I'm of the opinion, I believe, and I believe the Lord showed me, that we're in a Jubilee year now. The year started February 11. That we're in a Jubilee year, which means recompenses will come during this year, and it probably started, although I can't guarantee it, it probably started on February 11th, year recompenses. So that gives us an overlap between the day of vengeance being associated with the year of recompenses and being associated with the year of redemption. Because that was a perplexing mystery, so maybe I could give you an idea of that. I'll switch to English. In verse 8 of Isaiah 34, it says, "For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses." Now, I know we're in the year of recompenses now, and for the controversy of Zion. So, what I'm picking up from this is the day of the Lord's vengeance now is associated with the year of recompenses. Now, when we go through this, it talks a lot about, well, all right, so we got that day of vengeance and year of recompenses association. And then we go to Isaiah 61. And we read, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach." This is preaching. "Good tidings unto the meek, and hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound." To proclaim, to preach. To proclaim the acceptable year of Jehovah and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. Now, here we see the day of vengeance, and we see it associated with the acceptable year. Now, I don't think the acceptable year is the year of recompenses. The meaning of this word is ratzon. It means pleasure, delight, desire. It's a positive term. The acceptable, okay? And I think the acceptable year would be redemption, but it's also God accepts you in Israel. It says that in several, at least two places in the Bible. It's in Israel where he accepts you. So I think that this tells me that the day of vengeance is associated with the Jubilee year, in other words, the acceptable year, in other words, the year of redemption. So we've got this day of vengeance connecting us to both. You see the way it works? That's why I believe we have some type of an overlap between the two, and I think I've resolved it. Okay? Now, we see this someplace else. Let me look at it. We read, I'll jump in, Isaiah 63:1. I have trodden the winepress alone, and the people, and there was none with me. I will tread them in mine anger and trample them in my fury, for their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So we got the day of vengeance associated with the year of redeemed, the redemption. You see the tie-in? So that's why I think the overlay theory is the best, where I know we're from the Lord directly on or around August 1st, we're in the year of recompenses. And I believe very strongly we're in a Jubilee year now on February 11th beginning, so we have this overlap. Okay? So things could still happen that could be in the year of redemption, but since part of it is also the year of recompenses, we could see bad things happening during the year of redemption, only until the recompenses year is gone, and then we flow into just redemption things, which is the wonderful stuff. So it's not easily interpreted, and it's really stumped me. But I think this is the best explanation for it. Okay? All right. Let me take a peek into chat and see what the garbage is, if it's there. Somebody made an interesting comment. Messiah cut off midweek of 69th week, which means he comes back mid-60. I don't believe it's referencing Yeshua here at all. No. Midweek gap is 2,000 years. There's a 2,000-year punishment in Hosea 6:1 and 2, but you're not getting through to me. Messiah cut off midweek of the 69th week. So that means you're saying the 69th week happened a long time ago. And then we have the 2,000-year punishment period. I get that. And then he returns in mid-69. No, I don't get that. I don't see where you're going. I don't see how you get there. I just removed the foreign language post in Russian. I don't know what people are putting up. I don't know Russian, and people come in here and curse us and stuff in foreign languages. I did not block you. I just took the post away. I doubt anybody here would understand it anyway. Okay. Now, Daniel 9's not really dealing with Yeshua. It's very interesting that you say there's a 2,000-year interruption, because that does ring some bells with me, but I don't see where that is in Daniel 9:24. It doesn't talk about this interruption anywhere. See, to end the transgression, make an end of sins, means that when the second 70 is over, it's the end of Gog and Magog, the end of the tribulation, and Yeshua's returned. And then when you understand that, it starts to fall apart, that theory. I don't think you can make it work. All right. Now, we got to remember Elijah is going to prepare the way of the Lord when he comes. Okay? Now, can David literally be the anointed prince in the temple? No. Because he's cut off and dies. And it's selected unto man to die only once. So David already died. We would say in secular words, natural causes. So David died already. So David can't come back and die again. So he can't be the anointed prince. So it's somebody from the line of David. Now it says frequently, I will raise up David, but I don't think it's talking literally about David. Okay, you referencing Elijah and John the Baptist, Yeshua said Elijah's already come. Okay, so he had John the Baptist had the spirit of Elijah. That's what it says regarding his birth. He has the spirit of Elijah. He's not Elijah. But then Yeshua said Elijah's already come. So somebody from the line of David, maybe even David's spirit, I don't know, could be there, because David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne. Okay? So we got to remember that we haven't seen Elijah come right away. So you see, the garbage that the church world is teaching these days is that we're headed into Gog and Magog. Okay? And we're not. And it's not going to get there so quick. I used to think it would, but when you look at this 70, that's the countdown hasn't even started yet. And Gog and Magog would be the end of the prophecy. And that's when the tribulation is going to end too, and that's when Yeshua is going to return. And that's when it's going to happen. Now, when we talk about church crackpot teaching, we should jump into Jeremiah 25. And this is also very complicated, but not as bad as Daniel because it's not a sealed book. So we'll go through it, and most people think this is the Babylonian captivity period. It's not. And let's see what we can learn for this. So take a moment and pray that the Lord gives it to me right before we start. And I'm going to pray the same thing. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Hosea, king of Judah, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babel. The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, from the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year, the 23rd year, the word of Jehovah came unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but you have not hearkened. And Jehovah had sent unto you all his servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, but you have not hearkened nor inclined your ear to hear. So he's talking to Israel, and they weren't listening to the prophets. We know that was the case. They got mad at the prophets and persecuted the prophets for delivering such messages. They said, turn you again now, everyone from his evil way and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that Jehovah hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not, now that doesn't mean that we only have the land given to the fathers, we get that now, but the promise would be for us and to the fathers to have greater Israel, Euphrates to the Nile, that sort of thing. And go not after other gods to serve them. Now, you got to remember that who's attacking us today? Let's go through it. The Houthis, but not really. They can't really attack us. They've lobbed, I don't know, 10 missiles, something like that, up at Israel. I think one actually got in, the others haven't. So, I mean, they're fighting with us, but more so fighting only in name, okay? They're indirectly fighting with us by punishing the world shipping in the Red Sea by saying, because Israel's attacking Hamas, well, after they killed 1,500 people and burned them alive and stuff like that, we decided to attack. Shame on Israel, right? Because Israel's attacking them, we're going to keep destroying shipping until Israel stops. So the message they're sending is, it's okay to go out and massacre Jews, and they have no right to pay us back for that massacre. Nor do they have a right to defend themselves against future massacres. That's the message of Hezbollah. But the ones that are really fighting are Gaza, the Palestinians, and that's almost over without victory. Year of recompenses thing, I suppose. And next comes Lebanon, and I don't think we're going to have such a bad time. Let me explain why. Listening to the mouth of the media and the governments is foolhardy. They lie. They all lie. That's why they're in that position, because they're profound, prolific liars. Okay? Every single one of them, this country not excluded. Liars. Some media are liars, some media are not, but most media just parrot what they pick up from other media. So we get Nasrallah, who's a profound liar, come out and say that Lebanon has 250,000 rockets. Do I know that to be true? I do not. Has the Israeli government ever released figures telling us what the weapons are that Hezbollah has? Not that I ever heard of. So you can't go and pin down a lie on the Israeli government. They never told us. The media tells us. It used to be, he said he had 150,000 rockets. He had 100,000 rockets. Okay. If Hezbollah had the 250,000 rockets they say they have, I don't think their behavior would be matching what we're seeing today. They would just unleash thousands of rockets on us, okay, every day. They'd hit radar, military bases, military installations, big cities, air bases, anything they could hit. And if you could launch 3,000 missiles a day, it would be quite a target package. Now, Hamas is able to launch over 1,000 a day, so they might be able to get up that high if we let them. So what's Hezbollah waiting for? See what I'm saying? I think they have a limited supply of rockets, and they're not very many advanced rockets, and they're bluffing Israel and scaring the Israel public so the Israelis will put pressure on the government to end the war. Israel's not behaving as if they had all these weapons either. The government's not. So I don't think it's real. And that's why I think Israel's stripping away the Hezbollah installations that lie mostly between the Israeli-Lebanon border and the Litani River, which is 17 or 18 miles, depending how you measure the river or where you measure the river, from the Israeli border, and that the UN in 2006 says Hezbollah cannot be there, and Israel's saying, well, we're just going to enforce that and make sure they're not there. And that's going to require bringing the tanks and mobile artillery in with air support and missiles and rockets in the whole enchilada. And Hezbollah just keeps threatening and attacking. I think Israel wants to wait for the Hamas war in Gaza to be over, which is not a long wait, and then they'll crank up the war against Lebanon. Now, that takes care of that, of the map. We got Gaza, that'll be ours. Lebanon, that'll be ours. Syria, well, they're shooting rockets intermittently from Syria, and I think when we start attacking Lebanon and we go into the Rafah crossing, that Iran will have their militias that they pay that are already in Syria and can easily come into Syria as well to try to do launches and infiltrations out of Syria. Okay? And Israel will engage and take over a piece of Well, then we'll just move into Syria, I imagine, and take over a piece of Syria where King David ruled from Damascus. And Damascus shall be a ruinous heap, I believe it be a prophecy to be fulfilled. So we'll probably do that. Iraq, no. They have to come at us through Syria. Iran can't come at us directly. They got to come through Syria. The Houthis, I think, are at war with the nations, and that may be the end of them, their recompense. Or I don't see the nations just saying, okay, ruin the shipping in the Red Sea. It's okay. We're going to leave you alone. But in reality, that's almost the case. America and so America might, with a coalition of nations, they might attack the Houthis on the ground and actually eliminate them. A guy from the Pentagon, an active military general, I suppose, said that their actions, which is probably dozens of airstrikes on the Houthis, have not deterred them from continuing their harassment of the ships and hitting them with missiles, drones, drone boats, etc. Hasn't He said that it hasn't stopped them. So that's the prelude to Biden saying we got to up the war, which is part of the snare Biden's working by getting the military out of America, placing it around the world where they can't rebel against America, and it paves the way for the sleeper agents to take over the American military bases and for the other large players in the snare to invade America, which is your Jeremiah 50:51 theme. Now, we had a very large fire in Texas that's still ongoing. There's a state of emergency on many counties, and it's the second largest fire that Texas ever had. Do you think it's possible that some of these migrants that came in illegally but became legal from amnesty filings did it? Is it sleeper agent caused or just what they call natural causes? I don't know. I don't know. 24,000 positions in the military are done away with because they can't get enlistments. That could be the snare again of Biden. And I heard that figure actually got bumped to 32,000. I don't know how it got up there to 32, but I read it on a video, which I didn't watch the whole video. But anyway, it's the 24,000 is real. So these are the nations we're having trouble with now would push us from the land we have now to the land that our fathers lived in, not were promised, that he gave to the fathers that they actually lived in. Now, I have a question about the Sinai Peninsula. Let me see if I can get some clarification on that. Did Israel ever have the Sinai Peninsula? Well, we did, but did the fathers? I'm looking this up here. Because we did have it at one time in modern times since 1948, it may happen again. I suspect it will. Um, the children of Israel with Moses and Aaron crossed into the Sinai Peninsula, and God did say, "Every place your foot touches will be yours." So it appears to me, yes, we should probably have that too. This immediate, fairly immediate future. Um, it's 60,000 square miles and it has oil. And we were forced strongly by, I believe, Jimmy Carter, to give it back. He was a real dumbbell. I'm trying, just want to get to the bottom of it and make sure. I don't think it was ancient Israel, which is a question, because then it's not the land that their fathers had. See if I can find a better map of this. I can't read that one. Maps cut off at Gaza mostly. They don't get into this. See, but the map stuff is very much churchianity, and they'll disguise it just to be lying for the beauty in their sick minds of making lies. See if this sharpens up. So I'm trying to solve these puzzles here, and it doesn't look like it by the maps I'm seeing, which don't impress me. But Israel did have the land, and we got coerced into giving it back. So it doesn't look that way, but it's a confusing point because we had it at one time and then we had to give it back. So we might get it back again. I don't know. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah. Uh, so that'll take further research. So what the Lord was showing me when I broke a minute ago is, look, when you go to Daniel, it shows you the time frames for the events leading up to Gog and Magog. Okay? And when you look at Zechariah 12, the next very soon upcoming battle against Israel, where they lay siege to Israel, it happens before the 70-week countdown. So they're not the same thing, and they're separated by quite a bit. Because that's Jacob's trouble. Great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And that's associated with the year of redemption, which is when we get our inheritance back, our land, which is Israel. Let me explain why we don't have the land now. The government of Israel owns all the land. Yes, they do. When you buy a house or you buy property, you don't buy the land. You get a lease for 50 years based on their jubilees in a perverted way, in a mocking way, for the land. And then you put your house on it. Then you have the right, after the 50 years is over, to renew it for another 50 years with a caveat. The government can impose conditions on you to renew that lease, which could be very expensive and burdensome. Okay? And if I owned a house, which I don't, with land, and I died, I could pass my inheritance on only to another person who's considered to be a Jew by the government of Israel. They don't consider my wife to be a Jew, but she's a citizen, so they wouldn't let her inherit the land. All they'll let her do is live in it until she dies. So you understand this? Now, most people don't even know this exists. So getting the inheritance back means we own the land and we can pass it on to our heirs. Okay? There's two yokes that are going to be broken off our necks in Zechariah 12. One is the internal yoke from the government of Israel. Okay? They own all the land. All right? I think 6% of the houses here are exempt from that for some technicality. The house that we rent is one of those, where you can do what you want with it. And a non-Israelite can own it. A very small amount. Then they also have other tricks they play on you. They designate certain plots of land as agricultural, and you can't live on it. So the land of Israel is not yet redeemed. Do you think God put this government of Israel in power to run those you-know-what parades through Jerusalem and Tel Aviv every year? You think God did that? And wiped his feet on his own word? He wouldn't do that. That's part of the lawlessness. What about you shall have no other gods before you, make no graven image? Why do we allow them to build houses of worship, shrines, temples, and so forth to other gods and worship them in Israel? You think that's God's doing? No, that's the iniquity, the lawlessness. We're not supposed to make treaties with the surrounding nations, yet the government does that. You think that's God's doing? How can two walk together if they're not agreed? You follow me? Can't be. We don't follow Torah in Israel. Many cities prefer to stay open, like Tel Aviv, on Saturday and make it like Europe or America. Abortions are not hard to come by in Israel. There's a lot of adultery and immorality. Look at that festival on October 7th. They were trying to bring peace in. Instead of praying to God, they were bringing peace in through music. That's another form of idolatry, music idolatry. What do you think it is? Music has the power to bring peace all of a sudden. And people of Israel don't rely on God, they rely on the army and the military. When you work, your taxes are approximately 50% of your pay. When you buy a car, your taxes on the car are 100% to 150%. So a car you pay $35,000 for in America is $70,000 in Israel. The tax on gasoline is $3 a gallon plus the price of the gasoline or the diesel. Okay? Except for a hot water heater, you can't put solar panels around your house or on your roof. If you do, you're required by law to sell the electricity generated by those solar panels to the National Monopoly Electric Company of Israel. And then they buy it from you at a lower price than what they sell it back to you for. You can't just get 10 or 15 solar panels, put them in your yard, collect the batteries, and run your house on solar. It's against the law. Do you think that we have our land? When we're being dictated to like that, the words the Bible uses are hold their nose to the grindstone. Who told you to hold their nose to the grindstone is what the word says. Speaking of the government of Israel today. The rabbis teach the people that the Talmud overrides the Bible, the Torah. They say that Moses gave the people the written law for the Goyim, so they wouldn't understand. And he made the real law, it was oral. And then, of course, they happen to write it down in books called the Talmud, and they give that to the people. And the Talmud says that that Yeshua is not the Messiah. He didn't rise from the dead. He wasn't a prophet. And he was a bastard because they deny the teaching of the Holy Spirit fathering Yeshua. And these people that teach this stuff sit in the Knesset. They have a combined 15 seats out of 120, and they influence the government. And they recently tried to get a law passed under Netanyahu that said if you mention the name of Jesus or Yeshua or something like that, you can wind up getting a few months in jail. If other people heard you or minors heard you or something, they threw it out, but they were trying to pass it. Do you think this country is right now? Of course it's not. Many of the ultra-Orthodox don't believe Israel is Israel right now because it doesn't follow the law. But when they say the law, they confuse you. They mean the Torah, the Talmud. See, they call the Talmud Torah. They also call the Kabbalah Torah, which is like witchcraft. And they confuse the people. The people run around with amulets and symbols and stuff for good luck and ward off evil and stuff like this. It's nuts. It's nuts. Okay? And that's why you're seeing Israel getting a pounding. God's going to get rid of 2/3 of them in this go round, not Gog and Magog. Some will get it in Gog and Magog, but the 2/3 is associated with, it's in Zechariah 13, which is right after Zechariah 12. You got to remember the chapter and verse numbers are artificially imposed by churchianity or whoever. You know, the actual Hebrew text won't have those numbers on them either, you know, just have the whole book flowing. So anyway, in a scroll, so there's so much wrong here, you know, that needs redemption. And the year of recompenses, which precedes redemption, is going to purge the enemies of God, including those that are teaching this crap to the people, and including the government that's imposing this crap on the people. The government goes around telling the people if they could operate buses on Saturday in certain cities. The Supreme Court of Israel just doesn't follow the Bible. Not any component of the government of Israel follows the Bible. Not a one. Nothing. The ultra-Orthodox don't follow the Bible. They follow the Talmud. Okay? And Ezekiel 34 shows us the shepherds of Israel getting cut off, and the fat cattle, the rich espots that run the companies and all that. They work hand in hand with the government. They get cut off. Let everything produce after its own kind. They do GMO, gene splicing in the food and stuff here. They don't have a problem with that. Make new foods and stuff like that. That's all wrong. Then you start messing with God's creation, you create trouble for yourself, problems, and that's all that does. People are not yet really calling out for God. Some are, but they're still working with the Iron Dome, the Arrow, David's Sling, the Merkava tanks, and the government, and what's Nasrallah doing, and what's Hamas doing, and what's Iran doing. And this is what they do. Iran said they're going to give new weapons to Hezbollah for this war. Russia said they're going to give them new weapons for this war. Biden has got his mouth shut on the Lebanon war, doesn't he? All he seems to talk about is trying to make Israel stupid enough. Well, He's trying to get Israel to let Hamas stay in Gaza and rebuild themselves. That's Biden's goal. Biden doesn't want Israel to survive. If you don't believe that, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's the daughter of Babylon. He wants to get rid of Israel because his God is not Jehovah. His God is the unclean spirits. Those are his gods. That's who he reports to. That's who he thinks he owes everything to. That's who he's loyal to, and they want to get rid of Israel. And they want to get rid of America too. Why? America is not anti-Israel like the Islamic countries are. And even a lot of the Islamic countries have no interest in attacking Israel. Okay? They're really not that interested in it. Egypt's not currently expressing an interest, nor is Saudi Arabia, nor is Oman, nor is Jordan, nor is the UAE, nor is Qatar, nor is Bahrain, nor is Kuwait. The ones that are basically Shiite Muslim countries. Your Lebanon, your Gaza, your Houthis in Yemen, your Iraq and Syria, Iran. Turkey is Sunni, not Shiite. They're opening a big mouth, but they're not doing anything to us. I don't think Russia will do much. They may bring weapons to Hezbollah, but not much. Some people think because Gog and Magog is mentioned in Revelation, it's the same Gog and Magog war. Let's look at that. Let me see if I could bring the verses up. Revelation 20, verse 8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints. That's where the saints are living, which would be New Jerusalem at that time, and the beloved city, which is Jerusalem, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Now, if we back it up, we go up just a few verses to the beginning of 20. It says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Well, that's the millennium. We're not there yet. And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. And I saw thrones and all. Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous to say it's the same Gog and Magog. It's God's allegorical way of, telling you it's the nations rising up again. It's always the nations, They're jealous of the inheritance. They want the inheritance for themselves. Okay? I spoke to this guy this morning, and he told me he had a very novel way of getting people to come out of the church. He doesn't tell them to come out of the church. He just teaches them the truth about doctrines in the law. And when they understand that, then he encourages them to tell others. Now, his doctrines are not correct. They're incorrect. But he does understand the law is not dead. So they go around the church and they start telling people the law is not dead, and then the church throws them out, and then they contact them and said the church threw me out. I think it's more correct to not do that. To tell them you got to come out from among them. That's the scripture. If two are not agreed, how do they walk together? You see, you have to come out from them. You can't stay there. Okay? You can't. You got to go out. But it was an interesting approach to it, I have to admit. Okay. So I was in Jeremiah 25. I think that's going to be productive to go back there and finish. But let me jump into the chat and clean the garbage out. Because they come in here and they post horrible things, and I don't like it staying up there. Cuba is aligned with the people that are against America and Israel, and Cuba's like fourth tier along with Venezuela. So your top tier in the coalition against America and Israel as well is Russia and China. Then comes North Korea and Iran. Then comes Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, Iraqi and Syrian militias. Then comes Belarus, Cuba, Cuba, Venezuela. They're very minor players, but they are players. Morocco can be important because they're going to use Morocco maybe to close the Straits of Gibraltar, which will cut off maritime traffic between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, which will choke Europe and parts of the Middle East and Africa. And it's a pincher point there, like with the Houthis in Yemen. They haven't done it yet, but they might. I don't know. Probably. I'm trying to get somebody blocked, and it's not blocking. I got rid of it. Okay. Okay, so we're in, let's say, we'll go to Jeremiah 25:5. They said, "Turn you again now, everyone, from his evil way." That's what the prophets were saying that was sent to Israel in the past. "And from the evil of their doings, and dwell in the land that Jehovah hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever. Okay? The land given to you and your fathers. All right, this could mean the original land for now and the later land, but I believe it's talking about the later land. Okay. And go not after other gods, to serve them, and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger. Well, you're not supposed to allow the worship of other gods in Israel, okay? With the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Yet you have not hearkened unto me, saith Jehovah, that you might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands, to your own hurt. Therefore, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, because you have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith Jehovah, and Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babel, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment and a hissing, a perpetual desolation. Now, did this happen? Let's read it again. Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith Jehovah, and Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babel, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof. Now, did Nebuchadrezzar go against all these nations round about, and utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and a hissing, and a perpetual desolation? Did he make the lands round about Israel a perpetual desolation? Let's wonder. No, there's still people living there today. They have cities, roads, highways, sewage, water, electricity, internet, blah, 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 blah. This has not happened yet. So, Moshe, what are you talking about? What Nebuchadnezzar is? What Nebuchadnezzar is this? It's the Nebuchadnezzar of the daughter of Babylon. Uh-huh. How could that be? What are you talking about? Well, I think I could find it for you. Easily. It's in Jeremiah. It's in Jeremiah 50, verse 17. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away first. The king of Assyria hath devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones. This Nebuchadrezzar, and the word for this is zay, which means this. Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babel, hath broken his bones. Who would that be today? It would be Biden. If Biden gets removed or dies or something, gets old, retires, dementia, whatever, then it would be the next one. But that's who it is. Could it be Trump? I don't think there's enough prophetic time for Trump. And the other thing that happened with Trump is there's 3 states, or 3, I think, that are still blocking him from being on the ballot. 3. And it may be very difficult for him to win without getting any electoral votes from those 3 states at all. So he's going to the Supreme Court with that. He's also going to the Supreme Court to get immunity from a several $100 million judgment that was placed on him. And what he tried to do was get the court to let him post a $100 million bond against that judgment. So I'll explain this to you. So the judgment would not be executable until he was able to have his appeal on the judgment. Now the court denied that, which is sort of understandable, because what if he did a bankruptcy in the middle of that? You see, I don't think he would, because he has a lot of assets, but it's a thought. And generally, when this is done, it's usually you post the full amount of the judgment. So Trump told the court that he would have to sell property to raise the money, and they don't seem to care. So I don't know what his next move is, to try to get an emergency hearing with the higher court, and they're probably not going to like that. You know, so Trump may not even be on the ballot, but I don't think there's ever going to be an election in November. I don't think America will make it that far. Of course, of the year of recompenses and the day of vengeance, I don't think they'll make it. I don't think it'll make it. Now, if Trump can't get the court to say, tell those states that he has to be on the ballot, and maybe more states will do it, I don't know, this could cause ruler fighting ruler. Texas could decide to side with Trump, right? Other states. Trump could beat the war drum and he may get so mad, he'll figure, if I can't run for president again, I'm not going to survive another 4 years with Biden. Biden will have me put in jail. I got to wreck America. I'd rather wreck America than go to jail. And he may go about that. Sylvester Stallone, who's a person you wouldn't think would do this, made a public announcement that he's leaving California for Florida. Or he's had it with California. Wait till people had it with America. The Texas governor riled the people up a lot, and they're standing up against the Fed. But on a 10 scale, 10 being the greatest, Abbott's like a 2 or a 3. Trump's like a 9.5. Biden's probably like a 2. I mean, you know, Biden didn't even take a, what do they call it, a mental health test. He got a physical, and the doctor said, yeah, he's good to go to be president. Okay. But he wouldn't take a mental health test, and they said it's not necessary for it. What, you know, people believe this, and they go for it, they let him get away with this. You see what I'm saying? So if Trump says, you know, look, these states won't let me on the ballot, blah, 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 he could explode and just say, look, if you don't do something, you're not going to have a country. You know, you're going to be invaded, the illegals. He could start opening up Pandora's box. I mean, he's looking at prison. Biden's in the way, you see, they don't understand Bible prophecy timing. the way they understand things is, oh, there's gonna, Satan's gonna rule forever. He beat God. That's how they see things. Okay, so then he'll start thinking another 4 years of Biden, I'm gonna die in jail. Very similar to the way Netanyahu's thinking. So he may just say, let me just try to get a civil war going. That's the only chance I get. If I don't do that, I'm going to wind up broke and locked up in jail. They'll get more judgments against me for my fortunes and put me in jail for 10 or 20 or 30 years, and I'll die in jail. And that might be the ruler versus ruler, although Trump's not really a ruler of anything. He's an ex-president, not a ruler, but sort of a ruler because he has the right to be called Mr. President. Sort of, kind of, but let's say he would hook up with Abbott and DeSantis and those guys. So they're the rulers and he's the mouthpiece. He's the prophet for this overthrow of America. He's 5 times more powerful than Abbott and DeSantis put together. This Trump is a fantastic speaker and he riles the people up. Excellent. He's very good at it. And he may just decide that he's going to go for it. I don't know statistically how important these 3 states are with electoral votes, but it may be more than 3 states he can't run. I don't know. Well, it could be enough that it cripples him in the race and he may not get in, and his experts look at it and say, Trump, you don't have a chance here. And then he'll have another team of experts come in and a third team. They'll have 2 or 3 big law firms analyze what can be done, and it's probably nothing's going to be done. And they'll say it's states' rights, and he'll say it's not, and the Supreme Court might do nothing. Now, the Supreme Court may say, no, the state doesn't have a right to keep you off the ballot. I don't know what'll happen, but it's interesting. Trump does have the power to cause a revolution in the country. While he's not a ruler, you got to remember it's very easy for him to hook up with those that are rulers, and they'll just say, we want Trump as our president, let's form a new union or something. I don't know exactly how the pieces are going to crumble. The only thing we know is ruler will be against ruler, and we saw that and are continuing to see that with Governor Abbott in Texas. Coincidentally, Texas is stricken by fires. Coincidentally, just before the fires broke out, China had one of those mysterious balloons going across America, although I don't think it went across Texas. I don't know. I'm just saying, there's another state that has disturbing fires now too, but it's too soon to tell. Back to Jeremiah 25. So behold, I will take all the families of the north, saith Jehovah, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, my servant, and will bring them against this land, that's Israel, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about. Now, is America fighting in Iraq and Syria? Yes. Is America fighting in Yemen? Yes. Is America fighting in Gaza? No, that I know of. Is America fighting in Lebanon? No, but I do know they were doing reconnaissance flights, and they may be continuing that. And that is sort of almost fighting there, okay? So America may decide they want to jump into this fight to really infuriate the Islam nations to attack America and Israel, which is Biden's goal. and the inhabitants thereof, and all these nations round about. Now that didn't happen. Will utterly destroy them and make them a desolation and a hissing and a permanent. That didn't happen. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness. Look what happened to Hamas. The voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstone and the light of the candle, and this whole land shall be desolate and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Now, this is confusing, because the nations are made desolate, then they're serving the king of Babylon 70 years. Does this have something to do with the second 70? I don't think so, because the king of Babylon's about to go extinct. So this is something to do in the past, I guess. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations, these heathens, shall serve. Oh, this is the captivity. No, this is the 70-year captivity. He's calling them the heathens. It's not nations, it's goyim. That was it. Okay, this is the 70-year captivity to Babylon. All right. And it shall come to pass when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babel and that nation, saith the Lord. That's when Babylon got invaded, Cyrus. Saith the Lord, for their lawlessness and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolation. And it's not really a perpetual desolation, because people are still living there. So he may be talking about. No, I think this is the Nebuchadnezzar, the original. And I will bring upon that land, because it's pretty desolate, where their capital was, which is in Iraq now. But Saddam Hussein built some kind of museum or something over there. And I will bring upon that land all my words, which I have pronounced against it. Bring upon that land all my words, which I have pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Jeremiah had prophesied against all the nations, against all of them, all the heathens. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also, and I will recompense them that serve themselves of Israel, and I will recompense them according to their deeds. Year of recompense would be the clue here. And according to the works of their own hands. Now, it doesn't have to be in the year of recompenses, but it's giving me I call it maybe a hint, okay? For thus saith Adonai Yehovah Elohim Yisrael, Jehovah God of Israel, unto me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the heathen to whom I send thee to drink, and they shall drink and be moved and be mad, because of the word that I will send among them. Now they're pretty mad now. Then took I the cup of Jehovah out of at the Jehovah's hand, and made all the nations to drink unto whom the Lord had sent me, to wit, Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, and the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation and astonishment, a hissing, and a curse, as it is this day. And that happened. No, it's over. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants, and his princes, and all his people, and all the mingled people and all the kings of the land of Oz, and all the kings of the land of the Philistines in Ashkelon and Uzziah and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and the children of Ammon, and the kings of Tyrus, that's Lebanon, and all the kings of Zidon, and the kings of the isles which are beyond the sea, Dedan, Saudi Arabia, and Tema. What is that? I'm not sure what Tamar is. And Booz, and all that are in the utmost corners, and all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of now the word for kings is Melech, and it would be, I guess, Melechim or Melechot for plural, and it can also mean royals. So Saudi Arabia got a huge royal family to run things, things like that. All the kings of Arabia and the kings of the mingled people that dwell in the desert. And all the kings of Zimri, and all the kings of Elam, and all the kings of the Medes, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, in all the kingdoms of the world, which are upon the face of the earth, and the king of Sheshach shall drink after them. Now, Sheshach this is who's going to drink of the cup of the wrath of the Lord here. This is a symbolic name of Babylon. Okay. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, Elohim Yisrael, drink you and be drunken, and spew and fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thy hand to drink, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith Jehovah of armies, you shall certainly drink, for lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name. And should you be utterly unpunished, you shall not be unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of this earth, of this land is what it says, saith Jehovah of hosts. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, Jehovah shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation, he shall give a shout, as they that tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for Jehovah hath a controversy with the nations, with the heathen nations, it would be, meaning the Goyim. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Jehovah. That doesn't sound like the Babylonian attack on Israel. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. That's the continuing whirlwind of the Lord falling on the head of the wicked until it accomplishes the purpose of the Lord. It's a storm or a tempest. And the slain of Jehovah shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. they shall be dung upon the ground. Howl ye shepherds, and cry and wallow yourselves in the ashes, you principals of the flock. For the days of your slaughter and of your dispersion are accomplished. So howl, you shepherds, and cry and wallow yourselves in the ashes, you principal of the flock. That sounds much like Ezekiel 34. That's the rich, fat espots. For the days of your slaughter and of your dispersions are accomplished, and you shall fall like a pleasant vessel. A pleasant vessel falls, it hits a hard floor, many pieces. And the shepherds shall have no way to flee, nor the principal of the flock to escape. The principal of the flock are the big fat ones, the espots, and the shepherds are the government and the rabbis. They'll have no way to flee. That's an interesting thing. No way to escape. Interesting. A voice of the cry of the shepherds and a howling of the principal of the flock shall be heard. Jehovah hath spoiled their pasture, and the peaceable habitations are cut down. That's their nice houses. Because of the fierce anger of Jehovah, he hath forsaken his cover. Now, he broke his cover, so he's working openly. This is probably when the two witnesses start with the fire coming out of the mouth. He has forsaken his cover as the lion, for the land is desolate, because of the fierceness of the oppressor and because of his fierce anger. So there might be, the land is desolate, that word is waste. And it might be, stop it, Yaffa. It might be that there's going to be a lot of damage here from missiles, rockets, and so forth. It could be. I keep finding, stop it, no! I keep finding things that lead me down that path, that I think that's going to happen. And that could happen this week, next week. It wouldn't take a long time. Okay. Stop it. Stop it. No! Shut up, Yaffa. You're nagging me. Wait a few minutes. All right, let me check the chat real quick. And just throwing the garbage out, guys. Okay, I think I accomplished mostly what I wanted to today. So please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies, and pray for our animals and pets. They be happy, healthy, and whole, and not fight with each other or run away. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And pray for better videos, and pray the Lord gives me more insights into these things, which digging deeper and deeper into. So your Jeremiah 25 by the church is classically considered to be the Babylonian captivity, and now I've opened it up to you, and you can see it's far more than that. Okay? Far more than that. All right? So, I thank those of you that send offerings in, which is very few, but thank you. Offering information is in the chat and in the description box of the video. And that's what I got. And I hope you got something out of it. And I'll keep you posted on current events. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. Thanks.